The congregation's gasps ripped through the humid air like thunder as Pastor Harlan slammed his Bible shut, his finger jabbing at Elijah like a lightning rod. "You abomination! Out from this house of God, before your sin poisons us all." Elijah's knees buckled, but he didn't fall. Not yet. His heart pounding a rhythm that drowned out the whispers turning to shouts. The only sound in his world, now the echo of his own unspoken truth, finally shattered wide open. In that frozen moment, under the stained-glass saints staring down in judgment, Elijah felt the weight of every hymn he'd sung for them twist into knives, carving away the boy they'd raised into the man they now cast aside like yesterday's trash. Elijah Kane had always believed that the good Lord worked in mysterious ways, but nothing in the fire and brimstone sermons of his childhood had prepared him for the mystery of being dragged from the choir loft mid-praise song. His secret spilled like communion wine across the altar. It was a sweltering Sunday in Macon, Georgia, the kind where the air clung to your skin like regret, and the First Baptist Church of Redemption was packed tighter than a family reunion potluck. Elijah, 22 and fresh out of community college with a voice that could make angels jealous, had been leading Amazing Grace with that raw, gospel-infused tenor that turned heads and lifted souls. He'd felt it that morning, the Spirit moving through him, or so he'd thought, until Tommy Hargrove, his so-called best friend since kindergarten, had slipped a crumpled photo into the pastor's hand during the offertory. The photo was innocent enough on its surface. Elijah and a guy from Atlanta, arms slung casual around each other at a college party last spring, smiles wide under neon lights. But in the eyes of Pastor Harlan Whitaker, it was Exhibit A in a trial of eternal damnation. "Brother Kane," the pastor had boomed from the pulpit, his face purpling like overripe peaches, "the wages of your sin are death. Confess, or be cast out." The church had erupted then, women clutching pearls, men shifting in their seats with that mix of righteous fury and guilty curiosity. Elijah's mama, seated in the third pew, had buried her face in her hands, her shoulders shaking not with sobs, but with the silent prayer that this was all a bad dream. He didn't confess, couldn't really. The words stuck in his throat like dry cornbread, choked by years of burying who he was under layers of "yes, sir," and "bless your heart." Instead, he stood there in his starched white choir robe, the one his grandma had sewn with trembling hands before she passed, and met the pastor's glare. "I ain't ashamed of loving who I love," he said, voice steady as the Chattahoochee in flood season. "That's on me, not on him upstairs." Chaos followed. Ushers, big old boys from the deacon board, grabbed his arms, hauling him toward the side door like he was a drunk stumbling out of a honky-tonk. The congregation's murmurs swelled into a roar. "Sinner! Pray for his soul! Lord have mercy!" Elijah twisted free just long enough to snatch his leather-bound hymnal from the piano bench, the one inscribed with his name in faded gold. He clutched it to his chest like a shield as they shoved him into the blinding Georgia sun, the heavy oak door slamming shut behind him with a finality that echoed in his bones. Outside, the parking lot baked under the July heat, gravel crunching under his loafers as he stumbled toward his beat-up Ford pickup. His phone buzzed in his pocket. Texts from cousins, aunts, the whole tangled web of kin who'd raised him after his daddy ran off when he was 6. "Come home, baby. We'll pray this away." From Mama, "Don't you dare show your face here again." From Uncle Ray, who owned the local feed store and tithed double on Sundays. Elijah didn't read the rest. He tossed the hymnal onto the passenger seat, fired up the engine, and peeled out, tires spitting stones like accusations. The drive north on I-75 blurred into a haze of billboards for Cracker Barrel and Jesus Saves revivals. Macon shrank in the rearview, that sleepy town of antebellum homes and pecan groves that had cradled him like a mossy oak, until it snapped him like a brittle branch. He aimed for Atlanta, 80 miles of asphalt and what-ifs, where the skyline pierced the clouds like a promise of something bigger. He'd crashed on friends' couches there during school, tasted the electric pulse of midtown bars where men like him didn't have to whisper their hellos. But this wasn't a weekend escape. This was exile, raw and ragged, with nothing but a half-tank of gas, $50 in his wallet, and a voice that suddenly felt like the only thing tying him to the earth. By dusk, the city swallowed him whole. Atlanta's lights flickered like fireflies on steroids, traffic a symphony of horns and exhaust. He parked in a dive lot off Peachtree Street, the kind where valets eyed you like you might bolt, and wandered into a hole in the wall called the Velvet Note. It was a jazz joint, dim lit with velvet curtains and the low hum of a sax warming up. Elijah didn't have a plan, just thirst for something cold and a bone-deep ache for melody. He slid onto a bar stool, ordered a sweet tea on the rocks, and let the music wash over him. The stage was small, framed by strings of Edison bulbs that cast a golden glow on the performers. A woman in a red dress crooned Billie Holiday, her voice smoky as aged bourbon. Elijah's fingers tapped the hymnal's edge, hymns morphing unbidden into blues riffs in his head. He'd sung in church choirs since he could walk, harmonies that peeled back the roof on Easter Sundays. But lately, in stolen moments with his earbuds in, he'd been scribbling lyrics, fierce, aching things about hidden hearts and unbreakable light, songs no preacher would ever abide. First time, the bartender, a wiry guy with a sleeve of tattoos peeking from his rolled-up sleeves, slid a napkin his way. Elijah nodded, throat tight. Yeah, needed. Air. The man chuckled, low and knowing. We all do, kid. Open mic starts in 10. You got a set. Elijah blinked. Me? Nah, I just... But the words faltered as the MC called his name. Somehow, impossibly, the bartender had overheard his mutter about singing and thrown him on the list. Panic surged, hot as the tea going down wrong. But so did that old fire, the one that had carried him through solos when his voice cracked at 14. He climbed the steps, heart hammering, the spotlight pinning him like Judgment Day. The mic felt foreign in his hand, heavier than the church's brass lectern. The crowd blurred into shadows. Tourists in polos, locals nursing whiskeys. A smattering of queer folks with rainbow pins glinting like defiant stars. He cleared his throat, the hush amplifying every rustle. This one's called Ashes to Ember, he said, voice barely above a whisper. Then he sang. It poured out of him like floodwaters breaching a dam. Verses of betrayal and rebirth, his tenor soaring over the piano's mournful chords, dipping low into gravelly pleas that scraped the soul. You burned me down, but I rise from the flames / no chains can hold what the spirit named. The room held its breath, then exhaled in waves, claps turning to cheers, a woman in the front row wiping tears with the heel of her hand. When the last note faded, the applause crashed like thunder, pulling him back to earth. Back at the bar, strangers pressed business cards into his palm. A vocal coach from Emory, a promoter scouting for indie nights. But it was the guy in the corner booth who caught his eye. Tall, lean, with tousled dark hair and eyes like polished oak, nursing a gin and tonic. He wore a faded Radiohead tee and jeans that hugged just right, a silver chain glinting at his throat. When their gazes locked, the man raised his glass, a slow smile breaking like dawn. That was fire, man. Name's Lucas. You just lit up this whole damn city. Elijah's pulse skipped, a dangerous warmth blooming in his chest. Elijah, and thanks, felt like jumping off a cliff. Lucas laughed, sliding over. Best view from the edge. Stick around? Night's young. They talked until last call. About making sticky heat versus Atlanta's electric buzz. About songs that saved lives. Lucas was a sound engineer at a small label downtown, 25 and originally from Nashville, chasing beats in a world that still sometimes tried to silence them. There was an ease to him, a quiet strength that made Elijah's guarded walls crack just a hair. When the bar emptied, Lucas walked him to his truck, the city humming around them like a lullaby. Crash at my place, Lucas offered, casual as sharing a cigarette. Couch is yours. Beats sleeping in your rig. Elijah hesitated, the church door's slam still echoing in his ears. But the night air was kind, and Lucas's smile kinder. All right, lead the way. Lucas's apartment was a third-floor walk-up in Inman Park, cluttered with vinyl stacks and guitar cases, posters of Nina Simone and Sam Cooke peeling at the edges. The couch was lumpy but clean, and as Elijah sank into it, exhaustion hit like a freight train. Lucas tossed him a blanket, their fingers brushing electric, unspoken. Get some rest, Elijah Kane. Tomorrow we make magic. In the dark, with Lucas's soft snores filtering from the bedroom, Elijah pulled out his notebook. The words flowed freer now, fueled by the stranger's kindness and the sting of loss. Little did he know, this was just the first verse of a song that would rewrite everything. Mornings in Atlanta came with the grind of garbage trucks and the sizzle of street vendors firing up griddles. But in Lucas Hale's apartment, they arrived with coffee strong enough to wake the dead and playlists that stitched souls back together. Elijah woke to the aroma wafting from the kitchen. His body aching from the couch's springs, but his spirit lighter than it had been in days. Sunlight slanted through blinds striped with dust motes, painting the room in lazy gold. He padded barefoot to the doorway, notebook clutched like a talisman, and found Lucas at the stove, flipping pancakes with one hand while scrolling his phone with the other. "Sleep okay?" Lucas asked, not looking up, but the corner of his mouth twitched upward. "Like a rock in a riverbed," Elijah replied, leaning against the frame. He watched Lucas move, efficient, unhurried, the muscles in his forearms flexing under faded ink of a treble clef curling like smoke. It was domestic in a way that felt foreign, this casual intimacy without the shadow of sermons lurking. Lucas plated the food, fluffy stacks drizzled with syrup, bacon crisp as autumn leaves, and they ate at the rickety Formica table, knees brushing under it. Conversation flowed easy. Lucas's gig at Echo Ridge Records, a scrappy indie outfit in a converted warehouse near Little 5 Points. Elijah's church solos that had once packed pews, but now haunted him like ghosts. "You got pipes, man," Lucas said, forking a bite. "Real ones. Ever think about laying tracks?" Elijah shrugged, chasing a drip of syrup with his thumb. "Thought about it. Wrote a few things. But back home, well, you know how it is. Stick to hymns, boy." Lucas's eyes darkened, a flicker of his own scars surfacing. "Yeah, Nashville's got its Bible Belt chokehold too. Dad was a deacon, same song, different verse. Came out at 18, lost half my family overnight. Music's what pulled me through. That and nights like last one." The admission hung there, vulnerable as an exposed cord. Elijah nodded, the knot in his chest loosening. "Lost mine yesterday. Feels like I left my skin back in Macon." They spent the day wandering the neighborhood, past murals splashed with civil rights heroes and queer icons, through Ponce City Market where food trucks hawked gumbo and empanadas. Lucas pointed out hidden gems. A record shop crammed with Motown relics, a park bench where he'd written his first demo. Elijah soaked it in, the city's pulse syncing with his own, a far cry from Macon's polite silences. By afternoon, they were back at the studio, Lucas badgering him into the booth. Echo Ridge was a hive of controlled chaos. Exposed brick walls vibrating with bass from adjacent rooms, engineers hunched over mixers like mad scientists. Lucas's boss, a no-nonsense woman named Rita with a buzz cut and a Yankees cap, sized Elijah up like produce at the farmer's stand. "Heard you tore up Velvet Note. Let's see if it's lightning or just a spark." The booth smelled of stale coffee and ozone, the mic a cold sentinel. Lucas slipped on headphones from the other side of the glass, his nod a lifeline. Elijah closed his eyes, channeling the drive north, the rage, the release. He sang Ashes to Ember again, but this time layered, harmonies weaving like vines, his voice cracking on the bridge where loss met hope. Rita's eyebrows shot up. Lucas grinned like he'd won the lottery. "Damn, kid," Rita said after, clapping slow. "That's got bones. We cut a demo, shop it around. You in?" Elijah's laugh was half disbelief. "Hell yeah." Weeks blurred into a rhythm. Days at a temp gig stocking shelves at a midtown Kroger to pay Lucas's couch rent. Nights in the studio polishing tracks. Lucas became anchor and spark, teaching him Pro Tools shortcuts, their hands overlapping on the mouse. Late-night jam sessions where guitars tangled with Elijah's a cappella runs. The air between them thickened, charged with glances that lingered too long, touches that sparked. One evening, after a breakthrough chorus on a new song called Sanctuary, Lucas uncorked a bottle of cheap Merlot. They sprawled on the fire escape, city lights twinkling below like fallen prayers. "You're something else, Elijah," Lucas murmured, wine glass dangling from his fingers. The breeze ruffled his hair, carrying hints of jasmine from the courtyard below. "Voice like that, it's a weapon against all the bullshit." Elijah sipped, warmth spreading. "Feels like a shield, more like keeps the hurt from swallowing me whole." Their eyes met, and the world narrowed to the inch between them. Lucas leaned in first, tentative, lips brushing Elijah's in a question. Elijah answered, pulling him closer, the kiss deepening like a song building to crescendo, sweet, urgent, tasting of grapes and possibility. They broke apart breathless, foreheads pressed, Lucas's hand tracing Elijah's jaw. "Been wanting that since the bar." "Me too," Elijah whispered, heart full to bursting. For the first time since the church door slammed, he felt seen, not as sin but as salvation. But shadows crept in slow. A call from Mama mid-September, her voice thin as onion skin. "Pastor Harlan's preaching on forgiveness. Baby, come home. We can fix this." Elijah's resolve wavered, but the next Sunday's sermon leaked online. Tommy Hargrove's photo plastered on the church Facebook, captioned, "Beware the wolf in sheep's clothing." Comments flooded. "Pray for Elijah's soul. Disgrace to Macon." His temp boss at Kroger pulled him aside. "Awkward. Folks talking. Might be best if you step back." Betrayal stung fresh, Tommy's face flashing. Boyhood forts, shared secrets, now twisted into ammunition. Elijah threw the hymnal across Lucas's living room, pages fluttering like wounded birds. "He was my brother. How could he?" Lucas wrapped arms around him from behind, chin on his shoulder. "Hate's a coward's tool. Doesn't make it hurt less, but it don't define you." They channeled it into music. Sanctuary evolved, lyrics laced with fury and fragility. "You built these walls to keep me small slash, but I'll sing through the cracks till they fall." Rita loved it, pushing for a single release. But as buzz built, local radio spins, a viral clip from an open mic, cracks showed in paradise. Lucas's ex, a slick producer named Devin who'd bailed to LA chasing fame, started texting. "Miss that fire we had. Come right with me?" Lucas deleted them at first, but Elijah saw the doubt flicker, the late nights scrolling old demos. October brought the first real storm. Echo Ridge threw a showcase at a loft in East Atlanta Village, industry scouts sipping craft IPAs amid fairy lights and fog machines. Elijah headlined, nerves jangling like loose change. The crowd was electric. Queer kids with glittered cheeks, straight allies nodding along. He poured everything into the set. Ashes to Ember opener, Sanctuary closer, his voice a beacon cutting the haze. Whistles pierced the applause. A scout from a Nashville major pressed his card into Elijah's hand, whispering, "Kid, you're gold." Backstage, elation fizzed like champagne. Lucas pulled him into a shadowed alcove, kiss fierce and congratulatory. "Told you, you're unstoppable." But as they spilled into the night, phone buzzing, Elijah glimpsed the text Lucas tried to hide. "Devin. Heard the track. Jealous. Let's collab, your boys got heat. But we had magic." Lucas pocketed it quick, but the seed lodged, a thorn in the bloom. Days later, it sprouted poison. Rita called an emergency huddle. A leak online, anonymous post claiming Elijah's gay agenda, was poisoning the label's family values. Plays tanked overnight. The Nashville scout ghosted. Whispers traced back to Tommy, now reformed. Touring churches with a testimony video featuring Elijah's photo, blurred but unmistakable. "I saved my friend from the devil's grip," he drawled on camera, eyes gleaming with false piety. Elijah confronted Lucas that night, voice raw. "You think I'm too much trouble? Say it." Lucas recoiled, hurt flashing. "What? No. This is bullshit from your past. Not us." But doubt festered. When Devin showed up unannounced, all charm and connections, offering a co-write in LA. "Just a week. Think of the Doors." Lucas wavered. "It could fast-track everything. For both of us." Elijah's world tilted. Or it's you running back to what broke you. Don't drag me into it. The fight exploded. Words like shrapnel. You're holding me back. From Lucas. I'm fighting for us. And you're halfway out the door. From Elijah. Lucas left for the airport at dawn. Ticket in hand. A curt, call you from the coast, his goodbye. Alone in the apartment. Elijah curled on the couch. The blanket smelling of Lucas's cologne. Rain lashed the windows, mirroring the storm inside. He grabbed his guitar, fingers flying into a new melody. Dark, desperate. A ballad of love's fragile altar. Haven, it was called. Verses pleading for grace amid the wreckage. He recorded it raw on his phone, sent it to Rita with a note. If this sinks us, at least we go down singing. Little did he know, across the country, Lucas was listening to it on loop, tears blurring the Hollywood sign. Los Angeles hit Lucas like a hangover. Glittering on the surface, gritty underneath. All palm trees swaying against a smog-choked sky that promised reinvention but delivered echoes. He crashed at Devon's sleek condo in West Hollywood. A glass and chrome airy overlooking the sprawl, where infinity pools mocked the finite heart. Devon was all flash. Designer tees, a laugh that filled rooms, hands that lingered too familiar on Lucas's shoulder during sessions. Missed this synergy, babe? He'd say, cueing up beats that pulsed like old heartaches. They wrote feverishly, tracks slick with synths and hooks, the kind that climb charts on ambition alone. But every night, Lucas's phone stayed silent. Elijah's last text, don't become the ghost you hate. A specter in his pocket. Back in Atlanta, Elijah armored up. The leak had scorched Echo Ridge's momentum, sponsors pulling like riptides. But Rita was a bulldog in heels. We don't fold for bigots, she growled, rallying a grassroots push. Queer-owned venues booking solidarity gigs, TikTok challenges remixing Sanctuary with voiceover hate. Elijah hit the circuit-hard coffeehouse sets in Decatur, Pride pop-ups in Piedmont Park. His voice a rallying cry, drawing crowds of misfits who saw their own scars in his songs. Mama called once more, voice cracking. Saw you on the news, son. Proud, but scared. Come home when you're ready. He didn't, not yet. The road to forgiveness was paved with too many potholes. Solitude sharpened him. Nights alone, he'd pace Lucas's. Now his apartment, strumming till blisters formed, lyrics bleeding onto pages. Tales of altars built on lies, lovers lost to fear's cold grip. Haven took shape, a slow-burn epic with strings swelling like a chest about to burst. He poured the betrayal in. The church's door, Tommy's knife twist, Lucas's plane ticket vanishing into the clouds. Rita heard the demo and wept, unashamed. This ain't a single. It's a goddamn manifesto. We're dropping it indie, full video. You direct. The shoot was guerrilla poetry. Dawn in an abandoned chapel on the city's outskirts, vines choking the pews, light piercing cracked panes like hesitant grace. Elijah stood at the altar in a simple white shirt, sleeves rolled, singing to shadows. Ghosts of Pastor Harlan, Mama's bowed head, Lucas's empty side of the bed. Extras filled the frames. Trans kids with signs, elders linking arms, a choir of voices from Atlanta's underground lifting the chorus. The video dropped on YouTube at midnight, raw and unpolished, tagged Rise Higher. It ignited. Views ticked from hundreds to thousands overnight. Shared by influencers, pastors with consciences, even a CNN segment on queer resilience in the Bible Belt. Macon buzzed. Tommy's testimony tour hit snags. Venues canceling amid boycotts. Uncle Ray texted, heard your song, thinking on it. But the real quake came from Nashville. A major label exec, the one who'd ghosted, emailing Rita. That voice, that story. Let's talk. Elijah's phone lit up like Christmas. Congrats from strangers, interview requests from podcasts. Yet joy soured without Lucas to share it. He'd scroll old photos. Them laughing at Waffle House at 2 a.m., Lucas's head on his shoulder during a rainstorm drive. Doubt gnawed. Had he pushed too hard? Become the anchor instead of the sail? Then the call. Lucas's number, 3 a.m. Pacific time. Voice hoarse. like he'd been shouting into the void. Elijah? God. I'm sorry. Devon's a black hole. We wrote crap, soulless stuff. Flew out here thinking it'd fix me. But all I did was chase shadows of us. Elijah sat up, heart thundering. Rain pattered the window, a soft counterpoint. Where you at? Lax. On the red-eye back. If you'll have me. Silence stretched, heavy with what-ifs. Elijah thought of the church's slam, the leap from the Velvet Note stage. Flight lands at dawn. I'll be there. The airport reunion was airport cliché wrapped in redemption. Lucas emerging from baggage claim, duffel slung over shoulder, eyes red-rimmed and searching. They collided in the arrivals lounge. Hug fierce, bodies fitting like puzzle pieces long separated. I was an idiot, Lucas mumbled into Elijah's hair. Scared of how big this could get. Of losing you to it. Elijah pulled back, hands framing Lucas's face. We lose each other if we run. Together, we rise. They drove back slow, windows down, autumn leaves swirling like confetti. Lucas crashed hard, jet-lagged and soul-weary, but woke to Rita's war room. Offers pouring in, Haven, cresting a million streams. The label meet was in a sleek midtown high-rise, glass walls overlooking the Fox Theater's marquee. Suits droned metrics, royalties, tours, branding. But Elijah tuned them out. Lucas's knee pressed to his under the table. A silent vow. The deal signed with a pen that felt like fate's own. Champagne popped in the conference room. Rita toasting. To voices that shatter ceilings. But elation crested into undercurrent. Tommy surfaced again. A cease and desist from his lawyer, claiming defamation in Haven's lyrics. Slander against a man of God. It read, Harlan's signature scrawled beneath. The church board piled on. Petitions circling online. Boycott the blasphemer. Elijah's hands shook as he read it in the apartment. Lucas at his side. They're scared, Lucas said, fierce. Of you winning. The climax brewed fast. NPR booked him for a tiny desk concert live stream, global reach. Prep was frenzy. Rehearsals in Echo Ridge's back room, Elijah's voice honing to a blade. Lucas engineered every take. Their partnership electric again. Nights ending in tangled sheets where words weren't needed. But tension coiled. Scouts whispering of Grammy nods, paparazzi sniffing at gigs. And then the gut punch. A leaked email from Devon's camp, shopping a tell-all track. Lucas's side of their split, twisted to paint Elijah as controlling drama queen. It hit Perez Hilton first, then rippled to TMZ. Nashville heartthrob dumps gospel gay for fame? Lucas's face drained of color when Elijah showed him. That snake. I told him nothing. Betrayal's second wave crashed. You went back, Elijah said, voice breaking. Even for a week you gave him ammo. I came back, Lucas pleaded, grabbing his hands. This is us against them. But trust frayed, a thread pulled taut. Elijah stormed out, wandering Grant Park till dawn. Bench sitting under magnolias shedding petals like tears. The concert loomed 2 days away, his shot to stun the nation. He texted Rita. Still on. Her reply. Hell yes. Show 'em what hate breeds. Legends. Rehearsal that afternoon was brutal, voice cracking on high notes. Lyrics stumbling over raw hurt. The band's eyes darted sympathetic. But Lucas hung back. Producer's headphones around his neck like a noose. Halfway through Haven, Elijah faltered, the bridge's plea. Hold me in the breaking. Don't let go. Choking him, he dropped the mic, storming the booth. Can't do this with ghosts breathing down my neck. Lucas followed, cornering him in the alley. Then let me prove it. One more chance. Elijah's laugh was bitter. Chances are what got me here. Cast out chasing. Headlights swept the lot then. A black SUV idling, Tommy Hargrove stepping out, flanked by 2 church enforcers. Uncle Ray's boys, faces hard as flint. Elijah, Tommy called, voice oily sweet. Pastor wants a word. Before you drag the family name lower. The alley thickened with menace, air crackling. Lucas stepped forward, chest out. Back off, Bible thumper. This ain't your turf. Tommy sneered. Always the Yankee savior. Elijah knows better, blood's thicker. Elijah's blood boiled, vision tunneling. You sold me out for a pat on the head. Get gone. But they advanced, a wall of bulk and belief. Fists clenched. A shove from one goon sent Lucas staggering. Elijah lunged. First punch thrown in his life, wild and righteous. Connecting with Tommy's jaw. Chaos erupted. Grunts, swings, the crack of bone on bone. Sirens wailed distant. Rita bursting from the door with her phone live-streaming. Y'all seeing this? Hate in action. Cops arrived, lights flashing, hauling the trio away in cuffs. Elijah slumped against the brick, knuckles split. Lucas nursing a split lip. In the ER waiting room, antiseptic sharp, they sat side by side. Silent at first, then hands finding each other. I choose you, Lucas whispered. Every time. Elijah squeezed. The fight's adrenaline ebbing to resolve. Then sing with me. Tomorrow we end this. The tiny desk stage was deceptively intimate. A wooden desk cluttered with books and a ficus, NPR's logo beaming benign under soft lights. But to Elijah, it loomed like the pulpit he'd been yanked from. Spotlights warm but unyielding. A million eyes waiting via live feed. Backstage, the green room buzzed. Band tuning, Rita fussing with his collar. Breathe, kid, you're a phoenix. Lucas at his elbow, steady as the bass line they'd layered into Haven. His knuckles throbbed under bandages. A badge from the alley brawl that had gone viral overnight. Church versus voice trending. Talking heads debating faith versus freedom on every cable channel. You ready? Lucas asked, thumb tracing Elijah's wrist pulse. Elijah exhaled. The room's hush amplifying his heartbeat. Born for it. Or broken into it. The intro cue hit. They filed out to polite applause swelling online. Comments flooding, Slay, King. From pews to power. Elijah settled at the desk's edge. Guitar slung low. Band arrayed casual. Keys, drums, a cellist for that aching swell. No choir this time. Just them raw and real. He adjusted the mic. The same vintage Shure that had captured legends. And met the camera's unblinking eye. This is for every kid cast out, he said, voice steady. Every voice told to hush. We're singing back. Ashes to ember open gentle. His tenor unfurling like smoke from embers. Verses of fire and fall. The band building subtle. A hush falling over the feed. Views spiked. 50K. 100K. Then Sanctuary. Fiercer now. Harmonies with Lucas on backing vocals weaving tight. Their eyes locking mid-chorus. A private vow broadcast wide. The bridge soared, Elijah's falsetto piercing. In your arms, I find my amen/no hell can hold this hallelujah again. Finale was Haven. The beast, untested live. Strings side in, drums a heartbeat pulse. Elijah closed his eyes, channeling the slams, the kisses, the fists. You carved your cross on my crooked road / left me bleeding where the wild winds blow. Voice dipped low, gravel intimate, then climbed, powerful pleading, to the climax. But I'll build my haven from the hurt you sowed / rise higher than the hate you throw. The cello's wail crested with him. The room electric, tears tracing his cheeks unashamed. Applause erupted as the last note hung, lingering like incense. Online, it shattered. 2 million views in hours, shares from Lady Gaga, pastors renouncing hate in threads. The Nashville exec called mid-afterparty. That's your debut album. Tour starts spring. Welcome to the family. But triumph tasted bittersweet. News broke simultaneous. Tommy's charges dropped. Good Christian boys. The DA spun. But Harlan's church faced lawsuits. Donors fleeing like rats from flood. Mama drove up unannounced that night. Pulling into the apartment lot as Elijah and Lucas shared a quiet beer on the fire escape. She emerged from her old Buick, Bible in hand but eyes soft. Lines etched deeper by months of prayer vigils and small-town stares. Baby, she said, climbing the steps, voice thick. Watched the stream with the whole block. You sounded like your grandma. Singing her into heaven. Elijah stood, arms opening hesitant. She stepped into them, hug fierce, the scent of lavender soap and regret enveloping him. I failed you, she whispered. Let them poison me with fear. But that song, it woke something. Forgiven? Tears pricked. Always was, Mama. Just needed time to believe it. Lucas hung back respectful, but she pulled him in too. The one who brought my boy home. A blessing in her grip. They talked till stars wheeled. Her quiet divorce from the church, Uncle Ray's gruff apology call, Macon's slow thaw. Town's changing, she said. Your voice did that. As she drove off, taillights fading, Elijah leaned into Lucas, city humming below. Feels like an ending. Lucas kissed his temple. Nah. Interlude. We've got verses left. Tours, tracks, maybe a house with a yard someday. Spring bloomed riots of azaleas as the album dropped. Haven's Echo, 10 tracks of gospel soul fusion that debuted at 3, Grammy whispers trailing like fireflies. The tour kicked off in Atlanta's Tabernacle. Irony thick, the old church venue packed with fans chanting lyrics back. Elijah headlined solo now, Lucas engineering from wings. Their love a quiet undercurrent amid the roar. One night in Nashville, Opry's Sacred Circle. Post-show glow in a dive bar. Devin slunk up, slurred offer of truce collab rebuffed with a cold shoulder. Tommy even showed, cornered at the merch table, face bruised from alley echoes. Heard your set. He mumbled, eyes down. Meant to hurt. Didn't think it'd heal. Elijah paused, old rage flickering. Hurt's a teacher. Hope you learn. No handshake, but a nod, small grace, human as breath. Summer found them road-weary but rooted. A cabin rental in Blue Ridge Mountains for breather. Mornings. Coffee on the porch, Lucas sketching melodies. Elijah journaling hymns reborn. Evenings. Fireside jams, bodies entwined under quilts. Love a melody without end. Yet humanism's thread wove deeper. Elijah founded a foundation, Voices Unchained. Scholarships for queer youth in Bible Belt towns. Songwriting camps where hurt honed to harmony. Letters poured. Kids from Mobile, Tulsa, thanking him. Your song saved me from the edge. One, a 15-year-old named Jamal, sent a demo tape. Elijah mentored long distance, watching him bloom. By Kitsch shadowed periphery. Harlan's stroke, whispered as divine judgment by some, mercy by others. Tommy's quiet exit from the church, starting a reconciliation podcast. But Elijah's arc bent toward light. Not erasure of pain, but alchemy, turning leaden loss to golden song. On a crisp October eve, back in Atlanta for homecoming gig at the Fox, Elijah dedicated the encore to The Boy I Was, and The Man I Became. Lucas watched from wings, ring box heavy in his pocket. Proposal pending, a future verse unwritten. As confetti rained and voices rose in chorus, Elijah knew. Cast out, yes, but risen higher. His voice, once silenced, now echoed nationwide. A testament that hate's roar could never drown love's refrain. In America's fractured choir, he sang on unbroken, beloved, eternal.